Welcome to the Living Centred podcast, a podcast all about learning together how to live lives which are centred on Jesus. Everyone lives centred on something. Our goal is to learn together how every area of our lives, everything about who we are and how we live, can be increasingly oriented around Jesus and transformed by Jesus. He invites us to a rich and satisfying life, where the good news that he truly is enough changes everything about how we relate to God, ourselves, and the world. In each episode, a different person shares about what it's looking like for them to seek to centre their life on Jesus right now. As we hear their stories, we get to learn together and to encourage one another in what it means for Jesus to be at the centre of our lives. This is a journey we are all invited to, and a conversation we all get to be a part of. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name's Adrian and I'm joined today by Alice, and we want to welcome you to the new season of the Living Centred podcast.
We will be returning to the normal format of conversations from next week, but before we do, we thought it would be good to share about why there's been a longer than planned pause before season 2 of the podcast. Therefore, who better to ask than Adrian? And my guess, spoiler alert, is probably to do with living more centred on Jesus.
I think it probably is. It is good to be back in the hot seats again. And it's good to be with you, Alice. I'm looking forward to this.
Always a joy. So, Adrian, it's been nearly 6 months, can you believe it, since the last Living Centred podcast.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know some of this was because of your sabbatical, but I know the pause has been slightly longer than you'd planned. Maybe you can share a little bit about why this came about.
Yeah, sure. I think we'd always planned that we'd return to the podcast kind of end of September 2025 after my sabbatical, just to give me a bit of time to get back into things and then kind of start the conversations again. But one of the things that happened during my sabbatical is as I rested from lots of different responsibilities, it just allowed, I would say, probably a kindness from God of him revealing that actually for me to be the best version of myself. In other words, the version of myself that allows me to reveal Jesus the most to everyone else. Actually, the kind of rhythm that I need to live with is one that is slower than I often want it to be and more simple than I probably allow for. And I just felt kind of emerging back into life that I need to live with a rhythm of being slow and simple. And that's something that I'm continuing to learn and to continue to develop. I think one of the things I realized is the world that we live in tends to be pretty fast and pretty complex. And if I'm not careful, that actually all that I do within church can end up being something that I pace very quickly or can end up being quite complex. And so I realized that actually this wasn't something that was going to necessarily come naturally to me, but something I had to really lean into. And so therefore that meant that in coming back, I just needed to take a slower approach to different things to enable me to keep things simple and ensure that I wasn't trying to make too many priorities the priority, which I'd say is an ongoing kind of learning curve. But just meant that in terms of the podcast, I realized that actually in living slowly, living simply, this was something I just needed to postpone in its kind of re-entry into the world in order to give myself to some other things.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned your sabbatical, maybe you can share some of your other highlights from this time.
Yeah, I think firstly just a deep, profound sense of gratitude to Oasis and to the rest of the team, including yourself, for just allowing time for Lucy and I to be off together, to have time to do what we were planning to do, which was give space to God and to rest. And it feels like God was just really kind in that. So we're deeply grateful for Oasis and to the team and to God for doing what he alone could do. I think going into the sabbatical, personally, I'd felt Psalm 27 verse 8 to be the kind of invitation in, which says, my heart has heard you say, come and talk with me. And my heart responds, Lord, I am coming. And so I just felt like there was this invitation just to have a posture of allowing space for God to speak. And so my sabbatical was made up of a rhythm of either in places of isolation or within the city. The joy, as I've said, is that Lucy, because of some other circumstances, ended up being able to join me for the entire time. And that was just profound. And I think God used it as a moment for both of us, as well as to speaking to both of us individually. So it felt like a really deep, rich time together. I think within it, we therefore had moments of isolation together. In a more isolated place. I had moments of by myself where I did a long walk over a number of days, a pilgrimage, and then moments as a family where we got to be in a more isolated place, which is just really good. I think in that, the rhythm of then the place of isolation, then back into the city, became like this moment when we came back into the city was often stuff then happened that kind of caused us to be in activity.
Yeah.
And I think what I realized is within that posture of getting to the place of that was more isolated, as well as coming back into the city, which was filled with activity, actually what God did in his kindness is just teach me something more of what it means to be really present.
Yeah.
And so I think I learned to understand what it is to be present in the gift of each moment of both being with God, being within myself with God, of being in the environment I'm in, of being with the people I was in and with at that point. And then realizing that then that isn't like a passive thing, but rather an invitation then to see, God, what is it you're wanting to do in this moment with these people or by myself in this environment?
Yeah.
And I think it was this learning curve throughout all of those moments of the privilege of being present. And probably like some of the things that happened, if it happened at any other point, I wouldn't have had the bandwidth, if you like, to be present in the way that I could be.
Sure.
As all other responsibilities stripped away. And it was like this privilege of like, it's like, yep, I can just simply be present. And I think that's something that I'm wanting to kind of take into the future, but also something I'm wanting us as a church to really get hold of how do we live then as a people who are truly present. I think the next thing would be, from the sabbatical, was this amazing book I read, which you actually recommended, Alice, a number of years ago. I was slow on the uptake, but finally read it, of The Return of the Prodigal Son by Henry Newton, which I'd say is utterly revolutionized how I see God as my father, how I seek to live as his son, and how I then seek to learn to be a father like he is to others.
Yeah.
And I think I'm on a journey of just allowing that to just keep transforming me. I think two more rather than, because I could go on forever. So I'm going to just do two more
Okay.
in terms of, I think what God did in me that I'm then continuing to allow to shape more as I move forward is something that Eugene Peterson says is the way of following Jesus is the long walk of obedience in the same direction.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of walking during my sabbatical. I walked a lot. And what struck me is sometimes when you're just walking, you know you've got a destination to go to, and actually you just got to keep taking the next step.
Yep.
And as I took those simple next steps, I always got to the destination. But what it caused me to do is just realize just the beauty of just walking with Jesus over decades.
Yeah.
And just how the beauty and wonder that I'm not who I was, but also that I'm not who I'm going to be. And there's this continual invitation to more, which I just found profound. I think the other thing of the walk is that we don't do it alone.
Yeah.
And often the walks I was doing, even the one I did by myself, I ended up with other people. And I just realized there's something that happens when you just walk for a long time with others. There's a depth that you get to. There's an encouragement that you live with for one another. And it made me just deeply grateful for the people that I get to do the long walk following Jesus with. So if you're listening to this, you're probably some of those people, if not all of them. And I deeply am thankful for each and every one of you. And the last one would be just this great invitation to a greater dependence on the Holy Spirit. One of the places I got the privilege of walking through was in Scotland, and walked along the River Tweed. And as I was looking at this beautiful, pure river, and I was just struck by the picture of the river of God in Ezekiel 47, which often is a picture of the Spirit. And as I was looking at what I saw was that as you got deeper into the river, the faster it flowed.
Yeah.
And I just felt God just gently rebuke me of how I can often just be aware of the Spirit working in me and through me.
Yeah.
But often I'm just hanging around at the edge, like go ankle deep, maybe a little bit deeper, but then still work very hard. And I just felt God say, what would it look like if you just came right in and just allowed the Spirit just to carry you? Like what you're going to find is that you're going to not have to work as hard, and you're going to go further. And so I've just trying to learn more and more of daily saying, Spirit, I want to come and just surrender everything to you. Come shape who I am, shape who we are. So yeah, there you go. That's some of it. A little taster.
That is just fantastic. So living more slowly and simply has meant you've had to pause the return of the podcast, but I know that that's been in order that you can focus on some other living-centered projects, which is so excited. Please tell us more about these.
Yeah, I think this has been what I'd say is a labor of love. And I think it's something that probably 2 years ago now, I just realized that there's a way in which we're meant to live with Jesus that utterly transforms us, and that we're not meant to do that alone. And felt like there was this want to write some booklets, guides that would encourage and enable people to do that together.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a labor of love for 2 years. Writing is not my strong point, as everyone who's helped me do this has found out. And I'd say sometimes it's felt more like labor, and sometimes it is ultimately about love, a love for God and a love for people to inhabit more of the life that Jesus has for them. And so we've finally got to the point of these 3 guides that are now available for everyone that are about principles, patterns, and practices. The principles is a guide designed to encourage all to explore the life that Jesus offers, a life in full. And that it does that through examining the 2 core principles that Jesus changes everything because Jesus is enough, full stop. And it does that through a whole load of different Bible readings to research, a whole load of different lenses to look at how Jesus is enough, how Jesus changes everything. And my hope is that people are going to do this together.
Yeah.
And it will cause us then to live more and more with the beauty and wonder that Jesus is at the center and he transforms everything of who we are.
Oh, yes.
So that's the first guide. The second guidebook is Patterns, which is enabling people to live with kind of a daily, weekly, monthly rhythm or pattern that enables them to say, I'm going to live more purposeful in seeking to inhabit the life that Jesus has for me. And that kind of gives some exercises to do, some ways to think, some things to kind of act on that allow people to just live with patterns of life that just enable us to just live in the wonder and beauty of who Jesus is. And then the final one is Practices, which is a guide that looks at 11 different ways that Jesus lived, which can help us in how we live. And they're called practices because as we give ourselves to exploring them over time, we find that there is always more for us to discover and enjoy. And I found that to be true for myself, that as I look at how Jesus lived and seek to practice it in my own life, it just enriches and there's just always more to explore and discover. And the goal of it is I again see more of who Jesus is and he shapes more of who I am, which then impacts how I live connected to everything else and everyone else, which is just beautiful. And that's designed again to do with others. And so that's been a whole thing of which I'm deeply grateful to Rich, to yourself, to Lucy, for Jules in helping in terms of the editing of those and just allowing them to be something that I hope will do people good. I think, and the backdrop of this, Rich, who's just a whiz, designed a whole website that people can go to, livingcentered.com, that allows people to get these resources and a whole load of other ones that I'm hoping will prove of benefit to everyone. I'd say I'm filled with this sense of deep excitement and also trepidation, because it feels like this vulnerable moment of allowing people in to have something that you're genuinely wanting to do them good. I'm like a kid on Christmas Day, but also I'm also like the parent on the side thinking, I wonder if the gift's good. It's like that. I'm so excited about it, but also that sense of vulnerability of, oh man, I've just got to let this go now. Let's see if it does the thing that I'm hoping it will.
Oh,
so yeah.
Oh, well, if I can do the first review of it's been absolutely transformative for me. So even in reading through and editing some of it, it's just been so, so good. So I know it's going to do us here as a community and others just so much good. More of Jesus, that's always a good thing.
Oh, totally.
So yeah, what can we expect in season 2 of the Living Centred podcast?
Yeah, I think we're just going to have a whole load more conversations with different individuals who share profoundly from 5 simple questions about who they are, what does living centered on Jesus look like for them, how are they doing it, what are they discovering, and how are they changing? And I know that we're going to be transformed as we hear those conversations. I think in it, we're also going to add in some returns. So I think one of the things I found through during the first season of conversations is often people would say, man, I'd love to do this again. Yeah. And I think there's a whole load. I've got probably 2 years worth of conversations still to have. but I feel like I want to build in, and we're going to build in some return conversations.
Yeah, good.
Okay, how's it going then? What are you discovering more? Which I think is going to be a whole load of fun. And then I think lastly, I think we're going to find that my heart is well and truly full. Okay, I think it's going to be that. Like, what's amazing, I was having a conversation literally with someone 2 weeks ago who was asking, are the podcasts coming back?
Yeah.
And then they shared just what they'd done for them as an individual. They'd never done one. I'm hoping to do one with them in due course. But they just said, like, it's just done them so much good. And as they were speaking, like they said, my heart is full after listening to them. And I was thinking, man, my heart is full after listening to this conversation. It's just so good. It's like the oxygen that just thinks, why would I not want to do this? This just does me the world of good. So if nothing else, my heart will be full. So there you go.
Oh, good. Thank you so much, Adrian, for sharing. I know for me, I cannot wait to get back to hearing more people's conversations on what living centred on Jesus looks like for them. And for now, I want to thank you so much for listening, and I pray that each one of you would know more of the wonder of living centred on Jesus this coming week.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Living Centred podcast. New episodes are released every Monday, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe on your chosen podcast provider to receive them direct each week. Living Centred is produced by the team at Oasis Church in Birmingham, UK, and you can find out more and get in touch with the team via theoasischurch.com.